Thank you for coming. Again, we're talking about IT strategy for 2023 and what you should consider and things to think about. What is the status of technology right now? What is the status of your business? So we're going to go through a process of what are the things to think about. So we're recording this. It's going to go up on the YouTube channel as well. And then you can have the recording available to you. So some of the slides have a lot of text. I won't read most of it, but there's some good reference points. So yeah, so I'm Leslie and the owner of Digital Fire. We are an IT consulting company, and people think of us as technical support. And when you add the IT strategy bit to the technical support, you get more than the sum of its parts. And so that's the neat part about when you do this strategy piece. So yeah,
because you can fit that through.
I'm just gonna below so that we're we don't have background noise. Yeah, so we do IT consulting, infrastructure, managed IT. People think of us as support, as I say, but then when you add the consulting bit and the planning, and then you add some proactive work, we'll talk about that. It really is magic and more than the sum of its parts, and you can achieve some pretty neat things that are unique in the industry. So how do you handle technology right now? This is the plan for most people, where it's how can I work faster? How can I work harder? How can I answer the phone 2 seconds faster? And how can I type faster? And how can I do more with what I have and just work harder? Yeah, chasing your tail is what most people do for IT right now. And it's hard not to, because this is an emergency business. If your technology isn't working, then stuff is down. You aren't making any money. You aren't providing the services you promised to your clients. It's an emergency. Everyone's freaking out. So when you're in that kind of reactive, emotionally charged environment, it is very difficult to think about anything proactive or to plan or to do any of that sort of the other side of your brain type stuff, because you're doing this reactive. And that's why nobody does it. That's why it's so important to do, because even doing a little bit of what we're going to talk about today makes a huge difference, and it is a massive competitive advantage, because you can almost guarantee that most of your competitors are stuck doing this, because it's really hard to do anything else, because you have to shut off the noise for a little while and say, look, I understand that things aren't ideal and it's a problem and all those sort of things, but we have to do some planning here. We have to take a step back, and we have to plan for the future. We have to do the important as opposed to the urgent, right? So you have to make some space for it. It's hard, really, really hard to do. Most people don't do it. Most people think about it. Most people say they should. They don't. So after this call, we're gonna go through this, and then we'll have the best of intentions. And after this call, you'll get off the call, and there'll be some emergency to deal with, or tomorrow or the day after. You need to have the discipline to come back to this, think about it, and it's not easy to do that, right? So you have to build the dam. You have to go upstream and figure out where these issues are coming from. IT is logical. It's 1 + 1 = 2. It is not magic. I just said there's some magic when you combine all three things, right? But there's logic in this. There is a reason why it's slow. There's a reason why it's not connecting, right? You have to go, and it might be buried in there, but you got to go find that out. And finding out why it keeps crashing every other month is more difficult than fixing it when it crashes. And fixing it when it crashes, I'm giving the example of crashes, right? It doesn't have to be that dramatic, of like, oh, our whole system is down, etc. It can be more subtle than that. The point is to go and find the root cause of where these issues are coming from. You should be getting So everyone in your organization should be contacting IT for something that's wrong once every 3 to 4 months. If they're contacting IT more than once every 3 to 4 months, there is something wrong. There's something that is not right about the way the system is set up. So the best practices, kind of world-class numbers, are 3 to 4 months. If they're contacting once a week, twice a month, even once a month, once every 2 months, there's still something wrong. And obviously once a day contacting IT is there's immediate issues. So how often are people in your organization down and contacting IT because there's some kind of issue? It's too slow, it doesn't work, et cetera, et cetera. So if it's any more than once every 3 or 4 months, there's something wrong, right? So the money that you're paying for IT should go into not having to call IT. And it's counterintuitive, but you pay the money so that you don't have any problems because things are running properly and there's people looking after stuff and you don't have any issues. And that's what you pay the money for. If you're paying the money for people to respond faster, it's the wrong way to think about it. So, yeah, a little quote about planning, and I like that one about not quite enough time. So let's talk about building your IT strategy plan for 2023. So I'm going to talk about stuff that has nothing to do with IT. Where are you trying to go? What is your vision for your company? What's your big picture? Why do you get up in the morning? Your alarm goes off, you hate going to work, or you love going to work and everything's awesome, or somewhere in between. What are you trying to do? Is it making the world a better place? Is it helping people? Is it making money? What do you want to be? Okay. And then what is the mission for your company? Right? Well, you want to be the best in X, or you want to provide, support, grow. What are your values? What are the kinds of customers that you want? What are the kinds of people you want to serve? Who should be members? Who should be customers? Who should not be customers, right? This is general goals, but it pertains to IT. What is your operating environment? Who are your customers? Where do they like to hang out? What do they drive? Do they play golf? Do they buy lottery tickets? Are they sports people? Are they, where do they hang out? What do they enjoy? What are their values? How do you sell? Do you sell online? Do you sell in person? Is there a hybrid? How has that changed? Of course, lots of stuff has changed the last 2 years, and how we do business and doing things remotely and working from home and all those sorts of things. But how has that changed your selling process? Customers now, I think I was on with our marketing company on Tuesday, and they were saying that 60% of the buying cycle happens before a customer reaches out. So are they, what questions do they have? How much education do they have? How are you selling? Are you selling in person, face to face? Are you selling online? Is there a feeder organization or something like that has people that they come to you? Do they have to come to you because you're a regulatory body, or are you trying to get a larger customer base? All that sort of stuff. And so why am I talking about this when really we're supposed to be talking about IT? Is because we need to position technology so that it provides value to the business, right? We're not just fixing stuff to fix stuff. We are fixing stuff to make it so that your business is amazing. So it's so much better than anybody else because of what you're doing, right? And that's all those, and we'll talk about all the different pillars, but IT is an important part of that. But it needs to be in support of what you're trying to do. So it starts with all this. So hopefully you've done some thinking about your 2023 plans and goals, and who are your competitors? What's the industry? I know the trucking industry, for example, just had electronic logbooks come in because they had them come in before for cross-border for the US, and they had them come in now for Canada. And so that has changed the industry overnight because it started January 1st. So are there new regulations? Are there regulatory bodies? Are there standards, security standards or privacy standards or other standards that you need to suddenly abide by that you didn't? Anybody in the US who has who works for the Department of Defense as of January 1st no longer has a contract unless they are CMMC certified for security, because there was a mandate that everybody be CMMC certified. So that's a really big deal. Sometimes that presents an opportunity. What are you really good at? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses in the business? Knowing what your operating environment is. More questions. Read all of these questions, but it's where are you going, right? Where are you going to be in 3 to 5 years? If I only could, if I had a magic wand, all of my customers, if I, think about, is it the 80-20 rule? Think about your list of customers, right? There are some that are perfect for you, that are just, man, if all of my customers looked like this, life would be great, right? So think about what those people look like, how you serve them, what your business is good at. Again, why are we talking about all this stuff when we're supposed to be talking about IT? It's because knowing that stuff really well makes it so that you can zero in on what you need to do and what you don't need to do. Right? Saying no to a bunch of things or figuring out what you're not going to do is actually one of the bigger deals here. That's a concept from Warren Buffett, is that the investments that Warren Buffett has said no to are far more important than the ones he said yes to. Yeah, what's holding your company back? Again, the magic wand, right? What does the next 5 years look like? What does the next 6 months look like, right? What do you want to do? Are you opening a new location? Are you wanting to be bought? Are you buying somebody else? Are you just sit tight? We're good. I don't want to change. Are you growing? Are you giving the business to your children? Are you retiring in 5 years and need a succession plan? All those types of things. If you had a genie in a bottle that gave you 3 wishes, what would they be? How would you solve your inefficiencies? So who advises you? If you take an example of, you're going to buy a business, if you're going to purchase a business, who do you want with you that's going to help you through that process? Certainly you want a lawyer, or maybe several. Certainly you want your key operations people to know whether that business is going to be a good fit. You're going to want sales to whether those customers are going to be a fit for you. Can you sell maybe your existing products to those customers, or using it to expand? Do they have sales resources that you could use to your customers? Is finance, right? How are you gonna go talk to the BDC and figure this out? Do you have cash in the bank to be able to do it? Is there some combination of that? People, are you going to hire, fire, expand? How is this going to look? And IT, right? I put it last, it's often overlooked, is that IT needs to be at that table. What technology is that other, and we're just using the example of buying a business, but it's the same if you're trying to expand your business. It's the same if you're not trying to expand your business. If you just want to hold and secure and keep everything exactly the same as it is today, the world is changing around us. So you still need legal advice. You still need operations. You still need sales, because you're going to lose some customers just naturally. So if you have no sales, your business will get smaller. So if what you're trying to do is have your business be the same, you still need sales, and you still need financing, and you still need HR, because some people will leave and retire or go get a different job, and you still need IT. So no matter what stage you're at, if you're not trying to change anything and you want everything to be the same, you still need all of these things, because the world will change around you. So just to maintain status quo, you will need all of these things. My point is that IT is just as valuable as every single one of those things that are obvious, right? Of course you need a lawyer. Of course you need HR contracts. Of course you need business financing. Of course you need sales. Of course you need IT, and you need an IT plan. Like, you have a financing plan. You have a sales plan, right? Presumably you have a plan for people, and how you might hire this year, right? You need an IT plan. So it's the same as all of those other things. They have to be there. So what's your 5-year plan? What's your 3-year plan? What's your 1-year plan? Where do you want to be and how are you going to get there? Right? And that boils down to quarterly goals. So what are your Q1 action items for 2023 that you're going to do, right? And it can't be everything, right? There's probably a huge list of all the things you'd love to do. When you look at those genie in a bottle questions and, you know, if I had a magic wand, what would I fix in my business? There's probably 50 things on that list, right? So pick 3. And those are your, you know, the top 3, and those are your quarterly action plans. Again, we're not talking about IT. We're talking about general business type stuff, right? Yeah. What would you improve about your business? What one thing, you know, above all else, would move the needle the most, right? Now, having said all of that, now we can talk IT, right? So how does IT and technology support those goals? Is it about being efficient? Is it about growth? Is it about sales? Is it about customer service? Is it about retention? Is it about buying another business? Is it about expanding to another location? Is it about partnering with someone? Is it about handing the business to your kids? Is it about retiring? Is it about selling? All of those other things IT needs to be there to support. So let's start with some basics. Do you know what you have? Right, so get an inventory of, I mean, if you have 5 people, it's pretty straightforward, right? But if you have 50, then you probably have 80 devices and hardware and laptops, and people have stuff at home, and especially the last 2 or 3 years, monitors and phones and computers and printers, all sorts of stuff has gone all over the place, and you probably have not a great grasp on who has what and where it is. Does anybody have Windows 7 still? Right? You should know that. So know where you stand in terms of who has what. This is table stakes, but it is part of security standards, because when you get hacked, and I don't say if, I say when, one of the very first things is like inventory of who's got what and what's compromised. What are we dealing with? What's the scope of this thing, right? And so you need it for planning, you need it for protection. You got to know who has what, right? So whether you keep that in Notepad or Excel or some fancy thing, what's the warranty, etc. What will you need in the next 24 months? So you go back to your goals. These are my Q1 plans. These are my 1-year goals. These are my 3-year plan, etc. Do you have totally up-to-date hardware that you just bought and everything's hunky-dory? Do you have half-old stuff? Do you have a mix of things? What do you have? And is that enough to get you there, right? Is that rocket ship going to get you to the moon or to Mars? Or is it going to break down halfway through and kill you, right? So do you have a backup plan, right? If some of them are going to break, then what are you going to do, right? Is it back to that slide we had at the beginning where it's just sort of react and I'll deal with it? Or should we plan it? Should we budget for, well, look, we got 20 PCs. We think probably 5 of them are going to die this year. So let's budget for that. Maybe we should have 1 spare in the office so that when the first one goes, we have 1 on deck, ready to go. And we don't have 3 days of downtime because, of some emergency. And maybe we can get a deal right now that if we wait and it becomes an emergency, we'll just have to buy whatever there is. And it won't be the right thing, but we'll need it right away, and we'll end up with something that's not ideal. Or we can buy it now, and because we don't have to get it today, we could get it next week or the week after probably. Let's search for something that's a good price and it's a good fit and it's a good price. Let's buy 2 of them, and then maybe we'll have 2 in stock, because we know 5 of them are going to crash this year. I don't know if it's going to be February or tomorrow or if it's going to be December, but probably around 5, maybe if we're lucky 3 crash, maybe if we're not lucky 7 crash. It's not going to be 0. Hopefully it's not 24, right? So make some guesstimate and then plan for it, right? Have it on deck so that you minimize your downtime. And then what's the budget for that, right? It seems simple, but most people don't do this. Most people just wait and head in the sand, and the thing goes down and they lose 3 days because a person's not productive for 3 days, and then when they get the new machine, it's not the right one, it's not compatible with the monitor, and the docking station doesn't work, and they only can use one monitor for 2 weeks while they get the proper thing for you. It's just the cost of it, because what's your biggest expense in the business is payroll, right? The technology is the tool that you use to unlock the payroll. If they don't have a computer, you're paying the payroll for nothing, right? It's not like they can go back to paper and pen anymore. They need the computer for absolutely everything. So yeah, it's the cost of a laptop for $1,200 or something like that to keep somebody's payroll going. What does it cost you to pay an employee for 3 days while they do nothing, right? It's suddenly the cost of a laptop isn't so bad, and you're going to need it anyways. It's money you're going to pay for. It's not a waste. You're going to spend it this year. What I'm saying is spend it now and spend less, because maybe you get a deal. So let's look at these things for your business. And this is a big list to think about, right? There's a lot on here, but okay, your email. Are you happy with your email? Is it secure? Is it good? Is it reliable? Does it sync across all your devices? Is it backed up? Is it, stuff goes to spam? It shouldn't go to spam. When you send out emails that go to other people's spam, or is email just, how many issues do you have do you have Outlook issues all the time and people aren't getting email and the spam filter is bad? Or is it just like, nope, it's working, I don't need to touch it? Because so much of our time is spent in email, it's the first thing on the list. So is there a problem with that? If you fix that and you're good, move on. But if there's an issue there, then maybe that's one of the, what we're after here is, what are our 3 biggest fish to fry, right? I probably have problems with all these things, but what are my, every time I go to print, a stupid thing jams and it takes me so much time and the staff loses time. And so is that your biggest fish to fry? I spoke with a prospect this week whose internet connection is not stable. They connect into the office with a VPN and it's down twice a week. And it's just, it constantly interrupts their business, right? And so we need to fix that, right? And that's something we can do. And that's one of the biggest fish to fry this quarter, is to make it. So I often talk about making the problem smaller. There's combinations of things, right? So in their case, we could probably move files to the cloud, be less reliant on connecting into the office for the internet. That will make the internet, because if it was easy and you just snap well, why can't you just order new internet? Sure. I mean, seriously, they've thought of that, right? Like, it's not just the location, the cost, all those types of things. If it were as simple as, well, just call Bell and Rogers and just get new internet, right? They would have done that already. It's not that easy, because it's not available in their area, cost prohibitive, requires $60,000 of construction and 12 months. And if it were easy, they'd have done it already and solved that problem, right? It's just but there are more creative things you can do to combine and talk about all these things to say, well, can we put files on the cloud? Because 50% of our staff are home anyways, or they're home, 2 or 3 days a week. So, how about less connecting into the office, less relying on the internet connection? So it has to do less, so that the speed is not as important as it used to be. And then so we make the problem smaller. Can I eliminate the problem? I would love to eliminate the problem, and there's other ways to do that. Maybe get different internet, or get on the road that says, it's going to be 12 months and $60,000 of construction, and that's just going to be worth it for me. Or it's not going to be worth it for me, and I should move the business. Whatever it is, right? But you look at all these things and say, where do I store my files? Do I have ERP software? How do I do calendaring? How do I do invoicing? What's my accounting system? Do I need to change that? What's my phone system? Do I have other software? Do I have dashboards? Do I have customer tracking software? Do I have software that people can log in? Maybe I want software. Maybe I want to develop a portal where my members or customers or something can log in. And maybe that's my biggest thing, is to, customer retention is my problem. Maybe collections is my issue. And I have if people had a way to view their invoices and automatically update their payments and stuff, then I wouldn't have to chase as much. And all those other things. Have you thought about security? Of course, you have to think about security. It's a really, really big deal these days. How are you backing stuff up? I guess some of that is table stakes, right? But have you tested that? Has anyone and there's a lot of work, right? But this is where IT comes in. But have you done a test restore? Don't find out on the day that you need it that it's an issue, right? Oops, the backup hasn't run for X number of days or weeks, or never ran at all. We thought it was running, but it's not. Has someone actually tested it? How long will it take to recover from a disaster? Are you up in 2 hours? Or are you up in 2 days? And what effect does that have? Are you okay for some systems being down for 2 days and others not? Have you thought about it? Right. So which one of these is, these are things to think about, and you cannot possibly do all of them, right? It's a process. It takes a long time. So think about where you are in your business. If you just rate them out of 10 or something, right? Give yourself a score on all these things and where you are, and out of that, a few will pop off off the page for you and say, all right, that's my biggest problem. So a special slide on security, because this is a major threat. It's like suddenly we live in a place where there are a lot of hurricanes. 5 years ago, we didn't have a lot of hurricanes. I'm not saying we do actually. I just mean the weather outside in terms of what's happening to our businesses, it has changed, and there is a lot more people trying to hack and trying to get things from your business and attack than there used to be. So this needs to be, it gets a special slide because it's one of the considerations, but it needs to be a very big consideration. It's about 0.3 to 0.5% of your revenue should be spent on security. So how much are you spending on security today? 0 or something? 0.5% to 1/3% of your total revenue, annually, monthly, whatever, should be spent on security alone. That's not IT. That's just security. IT is kind of 3 to 5%, right? So, if you're not spending enough on security, because what I say about security all the time is that you just need to be more secure than the people around you, because you are never going to be 100% secure. There is no such thing. The people that are, if someone, because a lot of the time when I hear about, it's not a security discussion, I don't want to get too much into it, but what I hear about security often is that, well, I'm not a target. I don't have anything that people want. It's not that valuable. Nobody's going to really want to attack me. Thing is, they're not targeting. If you are targeted, there's nothing you can do. You're screwed anyways, right? We think of hackers as these be-all, end-all, give them 30 seconds with a keyboard and they can hack into the most sophisticated systems. And that's not the actual reality. It's the movie portrayal of what it is, but the actual reality is that most of them have one trick. Most of them have learned how to do a specific thing, exploit one specific type of vulnerability, or maybe if they're lucky, a family of vulnerabilities, but they have a way that they operate, that they just refine, and they don't know how to do everything. They know how to do a few or one specific type of hack, and then they do that on as many people as possible. There is a bot going through that list of 92 million names that got released last week on the the dark web, that has people's passwords from the latest data leak, and that these things get sold and etc. There's some bot going through that. You're not targeted, right? So the argument that I don't have anything useful for these people and I'm not going to be targeted, if you're targeted, there is nothing you can do. If you're actually going to be hacked by one of those people who, she can sit down on a keyboard and get into your system in 2 minutes, there's nothing you're going to be able to do. Spend 8,000 billion, gazillion, trillion dollars. There's no way. You're not going to be able to block that person. So don't even worry about it. You're screwed anyways in that scenario. But that is not the most likely scenario. That is so rare. So don't even worry about it. What you need to be worried about is some bot going through a list of names and you happen to randomly come up. It has nothing to do with what you do or do not have. Everybody's got something. These people are just trying to make a quick buck, right? So, You just need to, so if if you think about where you live, do you have a better security system than your neighbor? And if a burglar is wanting to get into somebody, are you the lowest hanging fruit? Are you the easiest, most obvious one? It's like, okay, well, that's the place I'm going to rob because it's, the easiest one and I'll most likely get away with it, right? Do you have a little bit better security than the people next door? And that's really all you need. So what does that look like for your business? Different industries. If you're legal and financial, that's going to be more of an issue for you than if you're, selling doohickeys, sort of thing. It's not zero, but how much you need to spend is going to be relative, to what everyone else in your industry is spending, right? So again, just don't be the low-hanging fruit that's easiest to, these people just want to make a quick buck before lunch. Is that on you or is that on someone else, right? So there is no such thing as secure. There is only more secure. So you just have to be more secure than the people around you. Security is complicated. That's all I meant to put in this slide is the security chief information security officer role, CISO role. There's a whole lot of stuff to it and all these bits. So again, just spend enough money on it. Don't spend zero. Take it seriously and do some stuff so that that you look a little harder, that you are a little harder to hack than the people around you. And then just quickly around security, just to think about it in the frame of mind of thinking about security, right? So this is your IT strategy and your plan for 2023. The things you should think about and the way you should think about security. The top left is what we always think about is the detection and the antivirus and the firewall and the tech. And there's a lot of that, and it's important. There's also the bottom part, which is human. If you let them in, if you get tricked and everybody thinks it's going to be stupid people, I'm never going to fall for that. It isn't the Nigerian prince anymore, right? You can spot that a mile away. These people, as I say, they have the one trick or one or two. And then they do that every day for years, and they will, they'll get better at it. They are good at hacking, and they are good at tricking you, right? It's, again, we think of the, super person who sits down with a laptop can get into any other system, and that happens in the movies, but it's actually, a lot of the time they send you an email and they trick you into falling for it. And, oh, I'll never fall for it. I'll never be that stupid. Except that these people are professionals. They are con artists. They do this for a living. You are not their first trick. It's your first time dealing with them. It is not their first time. They are good at it. They will get you to bite. And then the last bit is controls. Controls is the looking at it beforehand, planning it, and saying, well, does everybody really need to be an administrator on my Dropbox account? When I create a user, should they have access to everything? Right? When I hire someone and it's my second hire ever, or it's my 30th hire, and I'm giving this new person access to Dropbox or to Google Drive or to the VPN or to an email address, what kind of access? They need to access Sage. They need to access my ERP, Adobe, whatever it is. Do they need to be an administrator in order to do their job? Because it's awfully easy to just make everyone an administrator. But then what happens when, so you consider, let's assume that their account gets breached. So a hacker's into their Dropbox account. Does that mean that they have access to all of Dropbox and all the financials and all the HR? Well, this new position requires that. Okay, well, then you're taking that risk and you understand it. That's fine. You're knowingly making that decision. But I bet you not everybody in your organization needs access to every single file. So make it so that there are controls in place so that, and insurance companies are asking about this in all the renewal applications, is they call it privileged access, controlled access, zero trust, least privilege, all these different buzzwords for it. But basically it means, have you thought about when you are giving this person access, what level of access they should have. Should they have just access to everything by default and everyone can see everything? That's much more of a risk because one of those accounts is going to get compromised. So when they get compromised, do they get access to everything, or are you trying, is it limited, right? In order for that person to do their job, do they need access to everything, or could they do their job just fine with access to a subset of your stuff, and therefore you are limiting your risk beforehand? So that's the control side of it, is to be able to think about it and look at that. You might be in a situation where everybody in your business just, there's only 3 or 4 or 5 people. Everybody needs access to everything. Okay, fine. But do that knowing the risk. So what is your current tech stack look like? Do you have documentation? Are you stable? We talked about tickets per person per month. Do you have any proactive work going on at all? Does anybody sit and think about how this could be better? What could be managed better? What if we didn't have that many issues? How could we possibly not have that many issues? Where are these issues coming? Do you know that 25% or 22% or 9% of your issues are printer related? Is that a number that you can pull from somewhere to say, yeah, okay, we're having more than the average printer issues. Why? Or we're having more than the average email issues or phone system or those types of things. Is those trends? Again, what is the current status, right? And you have to be brutal about this, is because most people just sort of live with it and they think that that's the way it is. But again, people should be contacting IT once every 3 months. If it's any more often than that, there's some underlying issue that we need to look at as the reason why they are contacting IT more. And maybe it's legit. Maybe it's, they just started and they don't have the training and they don't know. Okay. Maybe we then can look at training and getting up to speed faster. Maybe there's nothing we can do. That's fine. But usually there's something. Usually there's a reason why they're contacting IT more often. Again, go back to your goals, right? So how can any changes we make have the greatest impact? If you're, these are the 3-4 initiatives we're trying to do in Q1 in the business that have nothing to do with IT, right? We want to buy another business, we want to, et cetera. How does IT support that? What can we do to either fix things, make them more stable, or we implement a new portal so the customers can log in and then our customer retention is better and something like that, right? Pick 3 things and make a plan to implement them. So it's awfully tempting to pick 12 things that we need to fix and we're going to do them all, and it sounds great on paper. It's going to be hard. So pick 3 that you're going to do this quarter and then start working on. One of the things we do for our clients is a strategic roadmap, right? Where you're looking at each quarter and you're putting things in and you say, okay, we'll do this quarter, we'll do it next quarter. I'd love to do that now, but there's too many things going on in the business right now. I can't. You know what? Let's put that in Q3 of this year because I want to do it, but I know that I don't have the bandwidth right now to be able to handle this because I've got this other, big customer we're working with, or we're onboarding somebody, or we're, et cetera, whatever is going on. But you take all your ideas and you put them on some kind of timeline, and then you can see them all and say, you know what? Actually, I want to that one in Q3. I want to move that up. Okay, if I'm going to move it up, I got to not do something else because I can't do them all. So, right, it helps to visualize it. So this is one of the things we do for clients, is to be able to map all this stuff out and say, which one are we going to do first? And then the other one can wait, and here's when we're going to start it. And then at least there's some comfort that we're on this road and we're going to get there, and that's when we're going to get there. One of the most important things, believe it or not, is to set the next meeting, is to have a meeting cadence. If the meeting is totally useless, if you make no progress at all, you'll probably make some progress next time, right? So just have a regular meeting set up. We do this often in our business, is to we don't actually try to set these lofty, we know that there's a problem. We're going to set a regular cadence of meetings. And I don't mean 50 people in the meeting and a waste of time. No, I mean a short meeting, focused, with a few of the key people in it, but that it happens over and over, weekly, monthly, whatever it is, whatever the most useful cadence is, but that it happens again and again, and it's scheduled on a regular basis, right? So that even if, because the world gets crazy and chaotic, and then you come back to it because you've got that meeting set in your calendar at 2 o'clock, right? And then maybe it's only 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be a 1 hour meeting. And it doesn't have to be a giant waste of time with everyone in the room or virtually or whatever with 50 people, 2 people. But you're going to know that you've got to talk about this department is not communicating with that department properly. We're going to, and all we're going to do is talk about that. And then people will naturally come up with stuff to make that better. It's the allocating the time to focus on it. And you know what? We had to skip the meeting this week. It didn't work. We were busy. It's on the calendar for next week. We'll eventually make progress, even if it's slow. So actually, one of the most important things out of this is to set yourself a meeting to talk about it. Because I'm sure you're looking at this saying, it's wonderful, it's great, it's all good. You're going to make yourself a promise to do it, and then you'll get out of this meeting and you won't, right? If you set 15 minutes next Tuesday on your calendar to come back to this topic, and then set 15 minutes the Tuesday after that, or whatever, to come back to what's your IT strategy for 2023, then that's something that you will make progress on it just by doing this. If you do nothing else, do this one thing. The 20-mile march, I've got the book behind these signs, but Jim Collins and Great by Choice. It was the slide is about the yellow line doing 20, whether the weather's good, whether the weather's bad, whether it's a stressful day or not a stressful day, instead of doing spits and spurts and little bits of focus and great, and we're going to do this, and we're all motivated, and then life happens, and then you don't travel the next day, and you don't do 20 miles every single day, right? So have a meeting weekly or monthly or whatever it is, but that constant cadence to it is what will get you to the end. If you do spits and spurts, you use up all your food and all your resources, and then you don't make progress, and you don't achieve your goals, and you don't get there. That is the end of where we are today. So we did talk about a lot of things, but the most important thing is to do something for your planning on IT strategy for 2023. So you need a plan and not quite enough time. And I'm sure things are busy, and it's January 19th. It's the beginning of the year, and things are very busy, and you don't have enough time. So you got one of the components, which is not enough time. So start a plan, and those are some tips for IT strategy for 2023. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take questions. Otherwise, we'll end it there and give you back a few minutes of time. So, and somebody posted, Tim posted, will I be sending out the slides? Yep, we are recording this, so we'll put it on our YouTube channel, and then send out the link so that you can see it and watch it. And there was a bunch of text there, etc., so you'll be able to reference it. So see if we have any other questions. I feel like I talked a lot and covered a lot, but hopefully.
Lots of info, Leslie. I'll just pipe in. And, very good. Nice to get a good refresher on things that we need to be doing.
Appreciate it. Thank you. That's it checks in the mail for the good comment. All right, good. If that's it, then I'll give you back a few minutes. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Leslie.
Okay, cheers, everybody.
Thank you.